I do want to ask you about that in a moment, but I just have to ask you very bluntly. I think to a number of Canadians with disabilities, I have yet to find a single group that advocates for them that has not expressed profound disappointment in what your government has put forward.
Boy, oh boy, do we got a good one today, folks. Welcome back to the channel. Hope you all had a great long weekend. During the weekend, I don't watch any media. I try to stay off my phone, off the TV, just hang out with my kids and my wife. Yet, when I got back and I saw this, I thought, what better thing to do a video on than this? Because we are constantly seeing Trudeau and Freeland never answer any questions, or they just give us word salad as always. And this disease of theirs is now spreading throughout the Liberal Party. And you're going to see it from a few of these clips that I'm going to play with Vassy. And it's an absolute disgrace to see these people just become robots. They're NPCs. They just have these talking points and their broken records and just repeat the same thing over and over again, as you're going to see here.
Let's start today with promised measures from the airline industry to make traveling better for people with disabilities and questions over whether those changes will go far enough. This week, the feds held the first ever Air Accessibility Summit in response to a series of recent reports of airlines leaving passengers with disabilities either without help or misplacing equipment like wheelchairs. Airlines are now pledging to track data on passenger experience, but no new penalties were announced. At the same time, the government is also facing pressure to make improvements to the Canada Disability Benefit. First promise in the 2020 speech from the throne, the benefit was finally introduced in the federal budget a few weeks ago, but despite promises it would act like the Guaranteed Income Supplement, which has lifted so many seniors out of poverty, this benefit will only provide a maximum of $2,400 per year to those who are eligible. That breaks down to just $200 a month or $6.66 a day, which many advocates say is not nearly enough to lift people out of poverty. Kamal Khera is the Minister of Persons with Disabilities. She joins us now. Hi, Minister. Pleasure to welcome you to our show. Thanks for making the time.
Good to be here, Vashi.
I wanted to start off on the airline summit, and more specifically people with disabilities whom we've spoken with who have expressed some deep disappointment that your government didn't impose any additional penalties on airlines which do mistreat Canadians with disabilities. Why are you willing to simply hope they do better?
Look, I think first and foremost, let's recognize the fact that I think all Canadians expect airlines, particularly when they're traveling, to have a safe and dignified way when they travel, and that is the bare minimum, right? And I think, as you said, rightfully so, over the last few months and years, we have seen unacceptable, absolutely unacceptable instances where persons with disabilities were treated. Not only did they receive the barrier-free services that they should receive. It was actually, quite frankly, they were treated so poorly, and that's not acceptable. And I think we were really clear with both Minister Rodriguez and I that treating persons and passengers with disabilities with respect and dignity while traveling, that's not optional, and everyone needs to do a lot better. And I will tell you, we had really robust discussions, and I think it was a very important step in the right way, where people, I think everyone committed to the fact that a lot more needed to be done together. Certainly at the short term, we certainly committed to make sure that there are a standardized intake form for persons with disabilities, and as well as better data sharing. We recognize that there isn't a consistency when airlines, when they share data, not just with us, but there needs to be open and transparent way how they share data for persons with disabilities. I can tell you this summit was an important step. It's certainly not the last step, as we continue to make sure we're doing all that we can to ensure people with disabilities get the best treatment possible when they're traveling.
I think the point, Minister, is that you're not doing all that you can with respect, because when you talk about, for example, everybody leaving with a change or an acknowledgement that they need to do better, there is nothing that ensures that. They're going to share data better about how they are mistreating Canadians with disabilities, but you have not levied any penalties if they do so. Why not?
I just love what a straight shooter Vassy is, because you can usually tell that she's coming in with a rebuttal just with her facial expression before she even gets to it. And you could tell she's not buying any of this woman's bullshit. But this minister here constantly is just going to be saying, as you're going to hear, everything is laid out on the table. We're having robust conversations. we need to do better. Everybody recognizes need to do better. She never answers a question with any concrete answer. Everything is just so vague, as you're going to see here.
Look, I think Minister Rodriguez and I were very clear that everything is on the table. And we had every major player at the table, from CATSA to CBSA to the airlines, to the air associations, the unions, and everyone understood that a lot more needed to be done. They insisted that they're going to do within their own institutions to be able to do that better. I know some of the airlines will be putting forward the mechanisms that they're going to be putting forward. But I think it's really important right now that we're focused on working together. For the first time, we had everyone together at the table where they got to hear directly from people with disabilities, with their lived experiences, and got a strong commitment from airlines to do better, to make these changes. And I think that's what that's not just what Canadians with disabilities expect. I think that's what Canadians expect at large. And we intend to see these updated things that we talked about, which they committed to publicly, to do better, to make sure that everyone.
What, with great respect, Minister, what does doing better mean? That's what I'm unclear on. How long are you going to give them to do better? How are you going to measure what is doing better? Because I'm not devaluing, the place of conversation and everyone getting together. I understand that. You've also, the committee, the House Committee of Transport, has spent the last 4 months listening to 28 witnesses, all of whom express the dread that they feel entering Canadian airspace, not American, not European, Canadian airspace. This is a Canadian problem. Your government does have the tools available to itself in order to force the airlines to do better, and you are unwilling to. Why?
As I mentioned, I think both Minister Rodriguez and I were very clear that everything is on the table. But I think the conversation yesterday was actually a very positive and a collaborative one. People came out of that conversation committed to doing better. We're going to be making sure that they're doing that work. And I will tell you, the discussion there was very collaborative, and we expect them to do better because that's what Canadians expect. And I can tell you, we are absolutely committed to making sure that they do that work together. But it was a really good conversation.
What will you do, though? What will you do, Minister, if they don't do better?
Look, I think we expect everyone to do everything within their own jurisdictions to do better. I can tell you that's something that we came out of that conversation yesterday in a very positive and in a collaborative manner, where everyone realizes that that's not acceptable, what has been gone on for far too long, and everyone is willing to do those changes.
I don't know about you, but I got diddly squat from anything that minister just said. I wasn't aware that I ordered a word salad, but Vassie's asking her, your government has the power to force them to do better. Are you going to do that? Well, everything's on the table. We all know that people need to be doing better, so everybody just knows that we need to do better. Yeah, but you guys are not doing better, so what are you going to do to make it better? Well, it's all we got to do is do better. Everybody knows that they got to do better. And not just people with disabilities, all Canadians. We all know that things need to be better. Yeah, so how are you going to do that? That's the question. But she just avoids it, dodges it, says all this nonsense that doesn't make any sense. And now Vassie's simply tired, I would assume, and now is moving on to the actual Disability Act, or benefit that these people are getting, the $200 a day, and listen to or $200 a month, sorry, and listen to what she has to say.
Before we go, Minister, I wanted to ask you about another issue under your portfolio. That's the Canada Disability Benefit that you introduced in the federal budget. Your government promised back in 2021 that it would, quote, reduce poverty amongst persons with disabilities in the same way the Guaranteed Income Supplement and the Canada Child Benefit have reduced poverty among seniors and families with children. Do you honestly think $200 a month will do that?
Vashi, let's take a step back and recognize the fact that for the first time ever in Canadian history, we have a federal Canada Disability Benefit, a statutory benefit. And in this budget, we put forward $6.1 billion to ensure that more than 600,000 low-income persons with disabilities get that extra support that they need. This is going to significantly, this is $2,400 tax-free per year in the pockets of some of the lowest income persons with disabilities for their essentials. We recognize there's more to do. This is an initial step that we put forward, and absolutely we are committed to doing more, like the work that we've done, such as Canada Child Benefit, like the Guaranteed Income Supplement, to really build this social safety net around, some of the most vulnerable in our community. We're absolutely committed to doing that work together with the communities. But one of the most important things that we need to do, Vashi, is to make sure that provinces and territories do not claw back any of the benefits that we're putting forward.
And yes, I do want to ask you about that in a moment, but I just have to ask you very bluntly. I think to a number of Canadians with disabilities, I have yet to find a single group that advocates for them that has not expressed profound disappointment in what your government has put forward. Is it not insulting to them that you're almost congratulating yourself for giving them $200 a month? And it's your government that set the expectations that it would lift them out of poverty. How does $2,400 a year lift anyone out of poverty?
Vashi, again, I think it's important to recognize the fact that for the first time ever, we have a statutory benefit, a benefit designed to support some of the most vulnerable individuals in our communities.
But it doesn't do that. It doesn't do that, Minister. They've been incredibly unequivocal with your government. You set the expectation it would take them out of poverty, like the Canada Child Benefit, like the Guaranteed Income Supplement, all of which provide so much more money than this benefit will. The GIS, for example, more than $1,000 a month. The CCB, $620 a month. This is $200 a month. How will this do any of what you promised it will?
Vashi, this is an initial step. We recognize there's more to do. And just like all the other progressive benefits that you rightfully pointed out, these are meant to grow. This is expired to be expanded and enhanced. But we will not do that on the face that provinces and territories can claw back the benefit. My biggest priority right now is to make sure we're working with provinces and territories. And we made it very clear to them. And we expect them to make sure that there are no clawbacks with the other provincial benefits that individuals with disabilities get. This benefit is intended to be a supplement, is not a replacement with the other benefits that individuals get. At the same time, to see what more we can do together to support some of the most vulnerable in our communities.
I mean, people who are vulnerable have told you exactly what they need, the amount of money they need in order to be lifted out of poverty. Are you telling them today that the reason you didn't provide them with that kind of a benefit is because you thought provinces would claw back theirs?
Look, my job is to make sure we support and we continue to enhance this, build on this social safety net that we put forward for some of the most vulnerable in our communities. I can tell you since 2015 that we have been in government, since I can remember, we are a progressive government that has been there to support, whether it is, through Canada Child Benefit, the supports for seniors, through Workers Benefit, to really create this social safety net. We are a government that for the first time ever put together and passed legislation for National Canada Disability Benefit.
But don't those people deserve the same thing that seniors do, that people with children do? Because they are telling you that you are not giving them that with this.
It's as if this minister is literally not listening to anything that Vashi is asking her or saying, because she just made the statement that it seems like your government is patting itself on the back for $200 a month to get people out of poverty, which clearly that's not the case. And your rebuttal is, oh, well, since 2015, we're the only progressive government that's come up with these programs. Well, who cares? The programs aren't benefiting anybody. So, well, why should we be so happy that they're even here? People that they're made for aren't feeling the benefit of them. $2,400 a year is not going to help anybody. But she's not the only one. We see all these new young liberal members also coming up with these same talking points, same rhetoric, being programmed to just repeat the same thing. Maybe a month ago, we had Richie Valdez, the small business minister who was shadowing Freeland for a while in her press conferences. She was on Vashi's show saying the same thing over and over again. We just had either a week or 2 weeks ago, we had Yara Sachs, the mental health and addiction minister, saying the same thing over and over again on Vashi's show. It's like, why do we keep letting these people get on TV if none of them are willing to answer any sort of question, at least directly or honestly? But as always, this is just my opinion. I'd love to hear from you guys. Let me know in the comment section below what you thought about this whole situation. Don't forget to hit the subscribe button. And as always, I will catch you guys on the next one. Thanks so much.